All right. Turn that shit down. Johnny, wake up. Turn it down. Thank you, sir. Good morning, everybody. It's a show on both YouTube and on Rumble because I don't trust these bastards. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Night Live. I don't have topics set up today, so we're going to wing it. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that I am back. I'm back. If you haven't noticed, clearly, if you're here, you've noticed. So anyway, let's see. I had to watch a room, but there's an annoying audio pop they have to sort out over there. Well, that's sure, that's true. That's all way. We'll get through it. We'll do it live. Yes, you're right, Somnambule Nation. You know, by the way, a whole bunch of people have been getting these little 7-day and 14-day, whatever, suspension strikes lately. And there seems to be a pattern. There seems to be a pattern. But, only because I know the people that we're worried about, or we talk to, or we are friends with, or we listen to, or we watch, or just happen to be the right of, well, Stalin. But maybe perhaps I should start the show. Johnny, you awake over there? I think maybe it's time to play the intro. Play the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, the one and only Dawg Knight.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. Stop the music. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I am your host, Marty Johnson, also known as Dawg Knight on the internet. Welcome back to the Dawg Knight Channel on Monday, the 24th of October, 2022. Halloween week, one of my favorite weeks of all time. Hello, oh, I see some people popping in. And I obviously, have you been around here or haven't been around here? I've been on a 7-day suspension from YouTube because, I guess you can't just, don't listen to both. You can't listen to both at the same time. Listen to one, AD. There's a permanent echo if you listen to both. And if you're watching on Rumble, that's my YouTube chat. If you're watching on YouTube, that's my YouTube chat. So you can't fix that. Anyway, I've been on a 7-day suspension. I got off it on Friday, and I popped a little short video up on Saturday morning. Then we did an impromptu trail stop stream, me and Lady Boomer, which has nothing to do with the things I do on my channel, but it is fun. We just sit around and drink Bloody Marys and mimosas and eat lunch and talk to people around us, and sometimes we forget to pay attention to the screen. But anyway, a few of you showed up for that. I appreciate those of you who showed up for that. But I'm back at YouTube, and YouTube is really, really, really starting to piss me off. And not just because of my suspension. I had a feeling. Well, no, actually I didn't. Well, maybe I should have known better, because I was reporting on the former president, the guy with the funny hair's reaction to the subpoena from the January 6th committee. And I mistakenly, not thinking about it at the time, thinking that I was reporting on current events and news and things that you could talk about on YouTube. In fact, people in the mainstream media talked about the same thing, showed the same quotes that I showed, talked about the same quotes that I quoted, but of course they're not going to ban them for 7 days. They gave me a strike, banned me for 7 days, and well, FTG YouTube. But it is the platform that I use the most. It is the platform where I know that I can be alive. But so if you missed 5 days of the show last week, because I did my show, I still did my show. If you know where my show is, if you don't see it here, you can always check there. And eventually I'm going to be doing it I'm going to have it on 3 places. Right now I have it on both YouTube and on Rumble. Then I'm also going to, if I can figure out how to freaking get it on Odyssey, I will do that too. It's a little bit of a complicated process. Well, I wouldn't say complicated. It's a tedious process to put it on Rumble also. But if I don't do that, then all these shows that I did last week will not be anywhere. So, because I tried Trovo, I tried DLive. Problem with Trovo and DLive is they don't archive your show. They don't post the show. They don't put a copy of the show on their site when you do the show. So Rumble does, Odyssey does. By the way, if you want to go back and see shows, even shows of mine that have been recently removed from YouTube, I'll tell you about that in a second, then you can go to Odyssey, where they do not remove my shows from YouTube. At least I don't think so. I think once they put them up there, because I have all my shows, not only now am I simulcasting on Rumble and Odyssey, but I also have my shows and videos on YouTube backed up on both of those places, so that when they come back 2.5 years later and remove one of my videos for, what was the one for? One was for medical misinformation. You know, when COVID first came out and everyone was talking about COVID, you could say pretty much you wanted to about it. Then all of a sudden they said, oh no, medical misinformation. Now the stuff that they took it down for that was medical misinformation just happened to be directly from the CDC website. But they, wouldn't want to have medical misinformation. And even though that was on the CDC website, they took a couple of those videos down. I'm like, you motherfuckers. You motherfuckers. Yes, I'm swearing right. I haven't even updated the damn Streamlabs Superstar sponsor today. Now, unfortunately, well, no, here's the thing. It doesn't matter if you're watching on Rumble or if you're watching on YouTube. You can be the Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. Because Streamlabs, right here, Dawg.Knight.Live, if you do that instead of Super Chats or Rumble Rants. I haven't figured out how to find the Rumble Rants. So if you do a Rumble Rant, which is like, they call them Rumble Rants and Rumble, like Super Chats and YouTube, or the prioritized chats on Streamlabs. That's what I call them. There's no name for them. It's just a Streamlab donation. You can write whatever you want. I can't find them on Rumble. I don't know where they are, so I have to scroll through the entire chat when that happens. Anyway, I do have my cup of reparation coffee in Halloween orange cup, even though this is a cup from Sedona, Arizona. But it's Halloween colors. It's close. It gives you that Halloween feeling. It's Halloween week. I love Halloween. I don't know why I like Halloween so much. I really do. And it's not like I go out and dress up, although, one year, when we first moved into the neighborhood here, we've been in this neighborhood 12 years. When I first moved into the neighborhood, now on Halloween, it's the last several years has been pretty cold. It's like in the low 50s, sometimes in the high 40s. It's been cold. Kids are out there in the costume, shivering and shit. So I always put a big bonfire in the middle of my driveway. I move my truck, move my wife's car, move them out onto the street. And then I have this little portable, bonfire kettle thing that I put in the middle of my driveway. I put a huge bonfire there. And then the first year we moved here, I dressed in this long black robe with a hood over my head so you couldn't really see my face. And I had an axe. And I stood there as close, as still as possible. All right. And the candy we just set our candy bowl out. We don't even care if kids want to take however many they want. I don't care. We put a ton of candy out. We get a bunch of full-size Snickers bars and big old packs of M&Ms and shit. We put it in the big bowl, and they can go choose themselves. And what's amazing, when you do that, kids are pretty, at least in my neighborhood, kids are not all that greedy. They will take one. You'll have 3 different things in there, and they'll only take one. I was like, that's cool. And I always have to tell them, you can take one of each if you want. But anyway, I stood there in this big black robe, hood over my eyes, couldn't see me, axe in my hand, just laying on the ground, like, the blade edge on the ground. And I would stand there as still as possible. So the kids weren't really sure if I was like a human or if I was just a Halloween decoration. And then when they would come up to the bowl, I would scrape the axe along the cement of my driveway, and they'd look, and I'd stop, and I'd scrape it again, and I'd freak them out. It was kind of funny, anyway. But I enjoy Halloween. It's fun. We didn't get all our decorations out yet. We're gonna put them out tomorrow, or tomorrow, because we finally got our garage clean, and I can get into the attic and the garage to get all our Halloween stuff out. So there you go. There we go. So anyway, so let's see. Let's say good morning to everybody. And then I want to talk about how happy I am. Because I'm happy to get along, make you feel like a roof without a roof. Or something like that. Anyway, first in the chat today on both Rumble and YouTube is our friend Avocados Diabli, who got there first, who gets the bell. Thank you for being here, sir. Also, good morning to Jaeger Pony, my favorite Canadian. Chicago Mike's in the house. Unacceptable Views, another of my Canadian friends. You're from Canada, aren't you? Unacceptable Views? I thought you were from Canada. Good morning, Fox P2, Trippy Liberty. What's up, my bro? Trip, I keep saying this. We got to talk. Somnambule Nation's in the house. Thank you for tweeting out the show. Good morning, Tyrannus, Alexandrius, Tremere Leash. I don't know what that means. What does Tremere Leash mean, Ty? Ty Alexander's in the house. Sands in the house. Plague Dr. Zach, a.k.a. Zach Osborne. Good morning also to Jay Thomas. What's up? Nice to have you in the chat. Good morning. K. Shull's in the house. Jethro Hetero. I didn't know there was a chat on Rumble. There is. Yes. They call them Rumble Rants. And, let's see. Is that everybody? Don Julio, Gulf City Biker and Trash Man. Welcome, sir. From BC. I knew you were from Canada. I just couldn't figure out which part of Canada you're from. So anyway, if you would be so kind, share this stream out. I actually put it on Twitter. I didn't put it out on the other platforms, though. I should have done that. Oh, well, I didn't. I'll put it out there later. Please share the stream, though. Share it on your favorite social media. And if you want to sponsor the show, you can do through Super Chats, Rumble Rants, or best place is pdognight.live. You can watch the show. You can do the chat thing, and you can do the, what do you call it? You can donate to the show if you want to. I don't care. If you can, great. If you can't, great. But if you want my attention, I will absolutely read whatever you write. If you do that, I try to keep up with those as well as I can. So, now, some fascinating crap is going on YouTube. And it always happens around election time. Where what's interesting about it is a lot of people who do have a view that is alternative to what the powers that be at YouTube want, always seem to be getting strikes and little slaps on the wrist this time of year. Why? Well, of course, it's election season. But it's not just people who are, now I've noticed it's mostly people who are on the right, or if they have a view that perhaps isn't in line with certain ideologies, and they seem to be getting strikes. So, for example, Legal Mindset, one of the law tube guys, and I use the term law tube guys loosely because there really is no organization law tube. Law tube's a genre, not a organization. They're not a group. They just happen to all do similar types of things having to do with the law on YouTube. Legal Mindset got a 7-day strike and a 7-day suspension. Cool Frog, who is a friend of mine from YouTube and from Twitter, you may or may not have heard of him, but he also got a 7-day strike. Cannon Hotep, he got a 7-day strike. The Yellow Flash guy got something. That I think that Umbrella guy got one too, but I think his is gone. The quartering, they're gutting for all these creators who they've been banned or struck, got 7-day suspensions. And it all, and Hotep Jesus too. Hotep Jesus got a 7-day strike. Now, here's the interesting one, because a couple of these guys got a strike that could possibly affect me again. Because do you remember when there was an ad by I can't remember which state he's running. I want to say Arizona. A black Republican in Arizona did an ad where he was talking about why he's like, at the beginning of the ad said, well, why would anyone need, wait a minute, is my chat bot going? Hang on a second here. Let me fix something here because this thing is supposed to be working. Why would anyone need an AR-15 with a 30-round mag? Now, and then the ad goes on. You see these images of Klansmen coming out of the woods toward the man's house, and he's looking out there with some sunglasses on. He sees all these Klansmen with, pitchforks and hammers and other shit that is coming at him. And that's why it's off. That makes sense. Let's fix that. Should be good now. You probably start seeing little things there. And he said, well, because if a bunch of angry Democrats are coming at me with weapons, I might need all 30 rounds. And then you see him sitting on his porch with the pew pew in his hand, and all the Klansmen running, saying because he has a pew pew, right? Well, a lot of people who did commentary on that ad and ran that ad on their channels with commentary have been getting strikes. Well, for what might you say? For violence and or hateful content. Now I find it fascinating, especially with Canon Hotep Jesus, Legal Mindset. Well, Legal Mindset is not a black guy, but that somebody, a black man, cannot do commentary on another black man who is against the Ku Klux Klan. Like, who's the hateful content toward? The hateful content is toward the Ku Klux Klan. And apparently even a black man cannot have an ad that is against the Ku Klux Klan if you're on YouTube, if perhaps you show a picture or image of holding one of those pew-pews of the let's see, I'm trying to think, the Alfa Romeo variety. I'll say the Alfa Romeo 17. Let's say Alfa Romeo. If you show an Alfa Romeo 17, even there, they'll call it violent and hateful content. And that's all of them. That was the only thing that they could figure out that they had in common, was they ran that ad. Well, if you remember, I also did some commentary on that ad. I'm pretty sure I played the ad on my channel. So if perchance I have another strike in the next, say, week or so, because it seems to only be happening to people of a certain maybe political leaning too, because I noticed that the Young Turks also have that ad in one of their streams or videos, right? And they haven't gotten a 7-day suspension for whatever type of conduct. I think the quartering also got a strike for that too. Everyone the common theme seems to be everyone who ran that ad got a strike for violence and or hateful conduct. And I was thinking to myself, one, there's no violence in the ad. It shows the man deterring violence, showing a sign of strength with a Alfa Romeo 17 in his hand, right? But a bunch of these people got strikes. So when on YouTube, there's a lawyer. How long is Andrea's video? I want to kind of go through her video because I was talking about these two cases. Oh no, it's a 34-minute video. We're not watching Andrea's video, but in the
guys, it's deplatforming.
So there's a lawyer on YouTube named Andrea. Oh shoot, I didn't do hang on a second. Did I do this? There we go. Andrea Burkhart has a very good video about some cases. Here, let me put this on full screen here. About some cases that are happening in this that'll probably end up going to the Supreme Court because I think the 5th Circuit and the 11th Circuit did some cases on here. And there's some net choice cases versus the First Amendment, where the 11th Circuit in Texas ruled that, because Texas has a law that says that social media companies cannot ban you for political content. Okay. And Florida had a similar law. The circuit court upheld the law in Texas, but struck down the law in Florida, and so it's probably going to go to the Supreme Court. And it was in reference to how Section 230 is used by social media companies, the publisher versus platform thing, which we've been having this argument for a good 3 or 4 years now, where are these social media companies, which are supposed to be platforms, are they using their guidelines to curate what is on their sites? Are they becoming publishers, or are they used similarly as common carriers? Oh, good morning, Mike Savage, Blarg, and Simon Wolfwood. I apologize. I didn't go through the people on Rumble. So good morning to you also. If you're watching on Rumble, I appreciate it. Also, I noticed Man Squat showed up. Good morning, sir. Dad of Wastelands in the house. And Mike Savage over here on YouTube too. So anyway, she has this. I'll just show you the intro, and then if you want to watch this video, it's 34 minutes long. I think it's a good watch, good explanation of the cases and why it will go to the Supreme Court. I don't know how this is going to play out though. Are these people using their Section 230 protections? Because look, if they're treated as common carriers, say they're treated like a phone company, as far as the social media platforms, and not publishers, if they're treated as, and they have the Section 230 protection to protect them from, for example, liability, because if they are publishers and they're taking people off their or advertisement, if you are one of those upside down people, I'm not sure what you read. If they are, if they're curating their platforms for content, then in a sense they're like a magazine, they're like a publisher, right? If they're a carrier, like a phone company, then you don't have to regulate what people say to each other on the phone. And so they kind of got to decide whether or not they're one or the other. But the Section 230 protection protects them against liability if they are just a platform. If they say let's say someone libels another person, Okay, let's take Alex Jones, for example. Alex Jones and his $976 million that he owes these people from Sandy Hook, and now they're trying to get him for another $2.75 trillion, if you haven't heard that one. It's quite ridiculous. They want to get $275 trillion in punitive damages. Basically, they want him dead, is what I'm saying. That's what they want. They want Alex Jones dead, period. Okay? They want him destitute, laying in the street. But anyway, if they are a platform and they weren't protected by Section 230, YouTube would also be able to sue YouTube for allowing Alex Jones' voice to be on YouTube during that time. Whether they took him off or not, they could get YouTube for liable. So that Section 230 protects them from being sued for what Alex Jones says, or what Dan Bongino says, or for what I say, or for what Ethan Klein says, or any of these people who are on YouTube. If they libel somebody, or for example, the other libel case I think is coming up was somebody in the New York Times. See, the New York Times doesn't have that protection, although they do have some First Amendment protection from it. Anyway, I'm not on both. If I have a choice other than YouTube, I'll use it. Okay, well, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm on Rumble, too. So anyway, that's what the issue is on whether or not they're platforms or if they're common carriers. Now, in the Texas Circuit, the 11th Circuit, they said, well, you're a common carrier. You have this Section 230 protection. Why are you removing people for what you call misinformation or political speech? Why should you be able to do that if you're protected from this? So they said. Now the argument that some of these platforms has, well, they have a First Amendment right to curate, remove, have guidelines, whatever, for their platforms. So which is it? Are they a publisher or a platform? So anyway, we'll watch the intro, but I don't think we're not going to watch the whole thing, but here we go. Here's Andrea Burkhart. I think that's her name. Yeah, Andrea Burkhart.
Guys, if deplatforming is something that you care about, then the cases you're going to want to be following are the net choice cases. Let's talk about them.
So this is Andrea Burkhart.
So the two net choice cases that we're going to be talking about are, first, net choice versus Moody, which is a decision from the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals.
11th Circuit, Florida, 5th Circuit,
that was
Texas.
Just decided in May of this year. There has been a petition for review filed to the U.S. Supreme Court, but there's not yet been a response or a ruling on that petition. The second decision is net choice versus Paxton. That's a decision out of the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals. It was just decided in September of this year, so a few months after the Moody decision. And so part of what's interesting about these cases is that they deal with extremely similar subject matter and reach pretty much opposite conclusions. So this creates a pretty strong likelihood that the U.S. Supreme Court is going to grant certiorari, going to grant review of these cases in order to resolve the difference of opinion.
This might be one of the best
between.
By the way, this might be one of the best explanations of this that you can get for a layperson like me to understand these cases.
The 5th Circuit and the 11th Circuit. So both net choice cases are First Amendment challenges to state statutes that are seeking to limit the ability of social media and other large internet platforms from deplatforming people based on political viewpoints or other content-based types of restrictions. So the statutes are a little bit different, and we'll get into the details in a few minutes. But I wanted to just briefly talk about kind of the background that has led to these statutes and these challenges in the first place.
Yeah, this is going to be the summary. We won't go much beyond this, but I do want you to hear this part because this kind of explains what I said, but even better.
Because really, going back to the Citizens United decision from the U.S. Supreme Court, there's been a growing concern about the outsized role that it appears corporations are playing in the political arena, particularly political discourse, simply because they have such enormous economic power that they are able to essentially buy up the airwaves and therefore dominate the arena with their own messaging at the cost of the messaging of the political adversaries. But in the subsequent years, of course, these concerns have not gone away and perhaps have even continued to grow. And a big reason why this is a concern, not just
because YouTube is asshole. That's the big concern. YouTube is asshole. Sorry, I just thought I'd...
to any particular political party, but frankly to anybody who has concerns about authoritarian impulses in our society, is that it's when you have the fusion of the corporate interest with the government interest that you have the hallmarks of fascism beginning to arise in your...
Oh, speaking of fascism... or fascism for that matter, there is a court case where several people in the federal government are being compelled to testify in a case about this, where, for example, Dr. Anthony Fauci, Jen Psaki, and a bunch of people in the Biden administration who've been going out and talking to social media companies about what they think should be censored about COVID, about different things. Well, there's a court case right now that's happening where they're being compelled to testify on why they think that was a purview of the federal government. So this is very timely also, because and when she's saying, this government cooperation between corporations and the federal government, well, that is exactly what we're talking about here, where the White House has their all these social media companies' ear, and then they're making suggestions of who should be restricted and who should be banned. Then we do absolutely have a major First Amendment issue, because it's not just the companies that are doing this. They're being directed by the federal government to do some of this banning. Good morning, Jay Pylon. All right, let's continue.
Society. And so when you have a corporation that dominates the marketplace of ideas, the marketplace of political discourse, and they have power to censor viewpoints that under clear First Amendment law the government doesn't have, then there is a strong incentive for the government to capture that power.
And that's what they'll be doing with the social media companies.
Acquire a mutuality of interests so that that power can then be exercised for the benefit of the government, and the government can then reward the corporation. So because of this, the idea that social media platforms can discriminate as they choose against political viewpoints, moral viewpoints, religious viewpoints, any types of viewpoints really, is concerning, because it does create this risk that then somebody in a position of power in the government is going to be able to align themselves and capture the benefit of that corporate power.
Exactly, AD.
By simply, I don't know, say promising some type of favorable legislation to the corporation, some other, type of alliance that can happen.
Which they've been doing. They've been trying to do.
Types of settings. If Twitter is able to, for example, censor the viewpoints of
Alex Jones,
just hypothetically, all Democrats, that should be disturbing, I think, to most fair-minded people, because Twitter plays such an outsized role now in public conversation as a whole. To entirely exclude one party from the conversation is essentially to limit that party's ability to participate in the political process at all. And
so imagine, let's say the Telegraph was the only way that political speech, political opinions could be sent across the country, or was one of the major ways that political information was sent across the country. And suddenly the Telegraph company said, well, you know what? We like only the Democrats, or we like only the Republicans. And they say, you know what? The president of the United States is from the other party. And they say, you know what? Hey, when you send out information from the other party, you're sending out, this is misinformation. We encourage you not to do that. And look, we're going to grant you some extra lines going into, some of these untapped territories, but you have to make sure that you keep you need to moderate what comes across your telegraph line. Well, that's what's happening with the social media companies. The federal government saying, the Anthony Fauci and Jen Psaki is out there saying, well, we've been out there cooperating with social media companies and telling them, things that we think should not be allowed to be said. Hello, you're part of the federal government. Congress shall make no law. The federal government shall make no law. You motherfuckers just need to stop that shit, right? Anyway.
So that capture is extremely dangerous and extremely tempting at the same time. So the state laws that are at issue in the net choice cases are essentially efforts to try to restrict platforms' ability to engage in this type of discrimination, this type of exclusion of speech from the public marketplace. The statutes are a little bit different. They take different approaches to this problem. That doesn't significantly undermine the analysis that the Fifth Circuit and the 11th Circuit went through. It doesn't resolve the conflicts in their reasoning, but it is just a point of interest to see how they differed in their approach. So Moody involved a Florida statute that would limit the ability to deplatform a political candidate, to remove posts that are by or about political candidates.
By the way, speaking of which, I can't remember the guy's name, the guy running for the Congress that did the AR-15, I'm sorry, the Alfa Romeo 17 commercial. But they removed his ads from YouTube. Political candidate. Oh, interesting. Fascinating.
To censor journalists based on content, and journalism is defined on the statute.
Like James O'Keefe? Oh, wait, he's not a real journalist. No. Except he's the only one actually out there doing real journalism these days. But he's not a real journalist because they friggin' said so. You know how many? It's funny because they loved. I think he lost a case for something. I think the New York Times, or whatever. But the guy that people say, well, he's not a real journalist. He's just a troublemaker. Well, you know who the biggest journalists of the day were back in the revolutionary times? They were also the troublemakers, the one causing a lot of grief towards the crown. Anyway.
Based on the size of your audience, kind of like we've seen with some laws in California dealing with the Reporter's Shield. So it doesn't apply to a little old YouTube creator, but nevertheless.
And yet we are our own editorial board. I don't care if I have a channel with 1,368 people. But is what I'm doing opinion journalism in a way? It's my opinion. I don't have to work for the New York Times. I don't have to work for CBS, or the New York Post, or Fox News. What I do is report and do opinion on current events. And that's what journalism is. Do I consider myself a journalist? Well, fuck yeah, I'm a journalist. If this is what I'm doing, I am committing journalism. So, come censor me, bitches.
It's the ability to censor journalists who have large audiences based on the content of what they are covering. Prohibited inconsistency and moderation decisions, basically requiring that standards be consistent. And it imposed certain types of disclosure requirements on platforms dealing with their moderation policies, their moderation activities,
the appeals court struck down.
Essentially, things like that go to these decisions that the Florida legislature is having a problem with and adopting the statute. The Texas statute was a little bit different. What that state did is simply enact a law that, in pertinent part for purposes of these cases, required that a social media platform refrain from censoring a user's expression, or a user's ability to receive the expression of other platform users based on the viewpoint of any of the people involved, the viewpoint that is reflected in the expression that's at issue.
Commit journalism. Hey, that's a good one.
Or basically geographic location. So it's a pretty broad restriction against deplatforming on the basis of viewpoint. So it also included some disclosure requirements that were a little bit similar to the Florida ones, that again requires disclosure of moderation policies, moderation activities, how certain posts are promoted, and requiring biannual reporting, as well as requiring social media platforms to maintain a complaint and appeal system.
Now, what's interesting too, when she said, what did she just say? Hang on, let me go back for a second, because I lost my thought here.
Policies, moderation activities, how certain posts are promoted, and
on how posts are promoted. The other part of the law, or because right now they use their algorithms to promote certain things, right? Or how they, supposedly when you, if you watch some certain type of video, they will recommend other similar types of videos. But also when you do searches on the social media platforms, if you'll notice, as of late, especially in the last 5 to 10 years since the first adpocalypse, when they were trying to court all the mainstream media to put their content on YouTube and other social media platforms, whenever you do a search for certain types of stories or whatever, you'll find that you're going to get content from the big giant media companies first. And especially, like, for example, if let's say during the Kyle Rittenhouse case, there were YouTube channels, multiple YouTube channels, that were doing mega times the number of views and what people watching the live streams than any of the mainstream media. And yet, if you looked up the Kyle Rittenhouse case on YouTube search, you would get PBS NewsHour, you would get probably CNN. I'm trying to think of who was broadcasting it back then. You'd get all the mainstream media stories first, like the first 10, 15 pages, before you'd get someone like Nick Rekieta, who had 110,000 people watching his live stream of the case, or Law and Crime, which had 130,000 people watching the case on YouTube. But they were getting, I think the total hits were over 1 million for both of those channels for every day they had the show on. And yet you would get PBS NewsHour or ABC News Story or something like that. And so that's the way they promote videos. That's also a form of publishing. And so I think there's the Texas law was saying, it had some language in it about how they promote various media on YouTube or on social media.
Biannual reporting, as well as requiring social media platforms to maintain a complaint.
Okay, that's a unfortunate pause there, but AD, that's not always true. Not once have I ever searched German snuff porn and got an MSN video. There is hope for the world now. AD, thank you, AD, for letting me know that. She does seem dry in her presentation. That's okay. I don't mind that she's dry in her presentation. This is good information.
Complaint and appeal system. NetChoice is an organization that represents all of the large social media platforms. Twitter.
Now, isn't this scary to you? This should be terrifying to you. They represent AOL, Google, Meta, which is basically Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, Twitter, Yahoo. I don't see, Google, because Google owns YouTube. All these different, TikTok. All these people are under the umbrella of NetChoice as far as who both the Texas law and the Florida law, who are fighting the Texas law and Florida law on behalf of all these people. Amazon. Is Netflix on here? Netflix, I don't see Netflix. But then all these other places, Airbnb, Expedia, Travelodge. I don't even know why those companies are on here. Verbo. So this is where the case comes from. Are you kidding me? Now I wonder if NetChoice is the one who's fighting these laws for all these companies. Do you think that NetChoice is also the one that the White House can go to for one-stop shopping to censor people they don't want people to hear about? Or to, are they the ones who can use all their data to find people that they want the Justice Department to go knock down their door with some FBI's and those Alfa Romeo 17s? Just curious.
Facebook, Instagram, etc. And so NetChoice then filed lawsuits in the U.S. District Court in Florida and the U.S. District Court in Texas to challenge these statutes under the First Amendment. And so the argument that NetChoice makes is that it is a violation of the First Amendment to compel them to host speech that they find objectionable, that it's essentially a form of compulsory speech that they are not required to abide on their platforms.
Now, it's an interesting argument. And in Texas, basically what they said is, wait a minute, you're not the one using speech. You're just a carrier. You're like the phone company. You're a common carrier. You're not participating in speech. In fact, you are specifically exempt from liability for any speech that's on your platform. That's what Section 230 is. You're exempt from liability. No one can sue you for something that's said on your platform right now. That's why the Sandy Hook people aren't going after you on top of Alex Jones. Because definitely, if they go for $2.75 trillion, they're more likely to get it from YouTube and Google than they are from Alex Jones. But they're not. Why? Section 230. Wait, I'm sorry. Ty Alexander, thank you very much for sponsoring the show. And Ty Alexander, you are... Fuck. You are the new Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. Thank you very much. Tyre says, love how YouTube was built by original and independent content. Then eventually it starts shunning the original creators once YouTube became a household name. The legacy media can't and couldn't compete with news on demand by citizen journalists. You are 100% correct. And YouTubers, because when Susan became CEO, they thought their money was in the mainstream media, and their interest was in the mainstream media, and the people who bought it, who brought them where they aren't interested in mainstream media. And you still see that today. If you look at the top channels that do this kind of stuff, their engagement is extremely low. So, I don't know. Thank you, Ty Alexander, by the way. Thank you very much.
So there were different, as I've indicated, responses to this argument from the Fifth Circuit and from the 11th Circuit. We're going to look at the 11th Circuit's reasoning first.
Okay.
So in Moody,
I'm going to skip this, and I'm going to encourage you to watch this video. I'm going to move away from it because I want to get to some other news. But I do appreciate, I absolutely watch the rest of this video if this is of interest to you. I think it's
the 11th Circuit.
I think it's very instructive, and explains both how the 11th Circuit treated it and how the 5th Circuit treated it versus in the Florida and in Texas. The 11th Circuit basically struck down the Florida law, and Texas upheld the Florida law in the first panel. They didn't go full panel en banc, basically, which is a full panel. But anyway, it was very fascinating. I think it's a very good explanation of it. What is going on with my cloud bot? This is driving me crazy. Hang on a second here. Now I'm getting mad. Where's my timers? Let's try this. Let's see if that works. I don't know why this hasn't been working lately. It's kind of making me mad. All right, we'll see if CloudBot starts, because also I want you to remember that we do have a Discord server that we use for posting all the videos on, all the links to, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. The bot had a week off and got a new gig. I'm beginning to feel that. I'm feeling that from the bot, and it's really it's upsetting me. So we'll see if that works. All right. I kind of want to get into some things that are happening today. By the way, later this week, I'm invited a bunch of people who have gotten 7-day suspensions on YouTube, and I've invited them to come on the show. Hopefully on Friday. My goal is to have a bunch of people here Friday who want to talk about that, and I'm going to invite Andrew Burkhart too, and see if we can discuss some of the things that are happening, because I really just want to hear people's different opinions about how the system works, because it's a pain in the ass. I'm just telling you right now. I could tell you how much of a pain in the ass it is, and I've shown you before, but I definitely want to hear other people talk about it, because I just get too pissed off if I do it myself. So anyway, let's see here. Oh, I got a bunch of, what do I got here? I got a whole bunch of people. Okay, these are just people retweeting the show. Thank you, Man Squatch, Zach Osborne, Scribe Light, Simon Wolfwood, Tyler F., Somnambule Nation. Who's this? Oh, Hey Camel. All of you who retweeted the show, I greatly appreciate it. All right, let's go. I want to go into some of my, I bookmarked a couple things on Twitter. I'm trying to remember what they were. Well, let's start with this one. This is fascinating. So I saw this. I don't know if any of you are following the governor's race in Arizona, which it's probably not something you normally would follow, a governor's race, especially if you don't live in that state. But this one is particularly interesting because Kari Lake, who is the Republican gubernatorial candidate or nominee running for governor, is very much a Trump advocate, right? A Trump ally, and she's running in Arizona. Super smart lady, spent many years in media, and she pretty much, she's if you listen to her talk to the media, she's very much like Ron DeSantis in the way she deals with the media. She knows facts. They will try to get her with some gotcha questions, and she will just kind of boom, 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 shut the fuck up. Not shut in those that verbatim, but she pretty much rips them to shreds. She's running against somebody named, is it Katie Holm? I think her name is Katie. I think it's Katie Holm. And Katie Holm basically refuses to do a debate, right? And the media, because Kari Lake is a Trump ally, is really hung up on the idea that Kari Lake might not, well, they keep asking the same question they would ask Trump. If you lose in Arizona, Katie Hobbs, thank you, Katie Hobbs, I couldn't remember her name. If you lose the election, will you accept the results if you lose? And she just doesn't answer the question because it's an insulting question. And so they're really hung up on this, though. But the other part of this is Katie Hobbs refuses to debate Kari Lake. And is basically her campaign. Look, she's doing the Joe Biden strategy of running for governor, where she kind of just hides. And she'll does a short 15-minute interview there and a short, Katie Holmes is Tom Cruise's second rival. Oh, that's right. Anyway, she'll do a short interview here, short interview there. But she doesn't campaign, really. She's kind of out there. But Kari Lake's out there everywhere, taking questions, taking the fucking cheap shot questions and answering them with like a champ, and just mowing down the media every time they try to hurt her to no avail. And so she's killing. But then this morning I see this tweet from ABC News. In an interview with John Carl, Arizona GOP gubernatorial nominee Kari Lake will not explicitly commit to accepting the outcome of her upcoming election if she loses to her Democratic opponent. First of all, have you ever once, John Carl, have you ever once asked Stacey Abrams the same question? Because she actively still, well, in theory she conceded, but I don't know about that. She still has it. And also, now my suggestion, I think I tweeted my suggestion here, but I know I replied to this, and I thought to myself, hey, John Carl, I got an idea. Why doesn't ABC News set up a debate and you can choose some moderators and we can talk about this question and many more related to the governor's race in Arizona? Set up a debate between Kari Lake and Katie Hobbs, and you could televise it. Wouldn't that be awesome? That'd just be really awesome, wouldn't it? Because Katie Hobbs doesn't want to debate Kari Lake, and I was just like, why not? It's just weird. Hello, Adeline. Anyway, so I was just like, and it's weird because people. I'm listening to some of the replies of this. If Republicans were so confident in getting the most votes, why not bolster the process instead of restricting and suppress it? They're not suppressing the vote. Asking for an ID does not suppress the vote. We're proving that in Georgia, where there's been record turnout by black people. An ID does not stop people from voting because everyone has a freaking ID. You cannot function in society with an ID without an ID. You can't collect checks. You can't cash checks. You can't open a banking account. You can't buy liquor. You can't drive a vehicle. You can't ride in a vehicle. You can't get an airplane ticket. You can't get Social Security benefits. You can't get welfare. You can't do nothing without an ID. You just can't. Except illegal immigrants. They can get whatever they want at all times ever. But they shouldn't be voting anyway, right? So anyway, I just find it fascinating. So You go in for an job interview, and a few days later find the company selected someone else. What do you think will happen if you claim a raccoon told them not to hire you? Or are you an adult, set aside disappointment, and just apply to other companies until you receive an offer? What does that have to do with this? It's not a requirement. She can refuse to concede all day long, but if she loses, she won't get the governorship. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she tells you beforehand. If there's shenanigans that are provable, then maybe she wouldn't. I don't know. If the entire Arizona vote is within 100 votes, would you concede or would you ask for a recount? How do you answer that question before there is a vote? It's a stupid question. Now, if she loses by 50,000 votes, like Stacey Abrams did, I bet she would concede fairly quickly. But if it's, let's say 2 million people vote in Arizona, and Katie Hobbs gets 1,050,000 votes, and Carrie Lake gets 950,900 and something 50 votes, and it's 100 vote difference between the two candidates. Would you concede immediately? Or would you say, we might want to do a recount that's like less than 0.5% of, the votes that it's off by. And we really probably want to just make sure that all those votes you counted were actually accurate. So you're not going to concede. Why would you concede? I don't even understand the question, John Carl. Would a Democrat concede if that were the case? No. But see, they're trying to beat her over the head with election denier nonsense, because now that's all the Democrats are running on. Election denier bullshit. Give me a break. Thank you, Black Hebrew Israelite.
That's right.
For sponsoring the show, dropping a deuce in the tip jar, who says, SM, social media, have chosen sides of the culture war. They're on the side of the left. HR department, a.k.a. useless catty bitches, has hired incompetent commies to impose their will on us. Fuck YouTube. Watch the show on Rumble. You should do what the salty cracker does, half on YouTube. I eventually, if I start growing my audience on Rumble, I will do that. By the way,
that's right.
Thank you very much for sponsoring the show. Yeah, I would love more people to go on Rumble. The only thing, Rumble's cumbersome when it comes to the super chats. One, I haven't figured out how to get the super chats off of Rumble, and I haven't really figured out how to transfer any of the money. But I think they do that once a month. I don't even know. I haven't even looked into it yet. But I like the fact that I don't have to watch myself so carefully on Rumble when I'm speaking. If I want to say some stupid shit, I want to be able to say some stupid shit. And if I'm wrong, great. I want to be able to be wrong with whatever and not be called, oh, you're trying to peddle misinformation. Ugh. Fuckwads. I hate it's a double-edged sword having to be on YouTube, I gotta tell you. Anyway, so that's what's going on with Carrie Lake, and I just think it's hilarious that they're worried about, well, would you accept the results of elections if you lost? How about asking, well, where the hell is Katie Hobbs when it comes to the debate stage? Why are you accepting the idea that Katie Hobbs should not have to debate her opponent in a race for governor of a state in the United States of America? It's ludicrous that you're asking that question and not asking about the debate or the lack thereof. So let's see. What else do I have in here? Oh, I got a bunch of notifications too. Let's see here. Oh, thank you, Jimmy Das Hotep, for retweeting the show. I appreciate it. And looks like I got. Let's see. Monkeys has replied to this. Several of us got hit for covering an ad put out by a politician 3 months ago. YouTube just decided it was bad out of nowhere. I know it. I pretty much am just waiting for that hammer to come down. I'm surprised it hasn't come down in the middle of this stream, because I know for a fact I covered that. So we'll have to see what happens. All right, let's see what else do I have in the bookmarks here. Did y'all see this? Now this is I don't know if it's sad or it's funny. Hang on a second. I messed up. I need to make sure that I put that Katie Hobbs article. Oh, I have the article. Here, let's see the article. I didn't look at the article first. Let me check this out. Let's see. Why did they put this shit right in the middle of my screen? That really annoys me. Kari Lake suggests early voting should be restricted in Arizona as she repeats election lies. Now, isn't this amazing? Election lies or an election opinion? See, the media is all in for Democrats, so they will call it lies. The gubernatorial nominee spoke with Jonathan Karl this week. In an interview with ABC This Week on Sunday, Arizona Republican gubernatorial nominee Kari Lake said she would not would not explicitly commit to accepting the outcome of her upcoming election if she loses to her Democratic opponent. She says, let me ask you why it is you have not said, or maybe you'll do it now, you have not said that you'll accept, or this is him asking, that you will accept the certified results of this election, even if you lose this election. ABC's chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl asked Lake in an interview. She said, I will accept the results of this election if we have fair, honest, and transparent election. She answered your question, asshole. Absolutely 100%, said Lake, the former TV anchor who has become one of the Republican Party's most prominent election deniers. See, they want to hang that label on people this cycle. As long as it's fair, honest, and transparent. She answered the fucking question, Jonathan. Listen, the headline, or what was the tweet? Let's go back to the tweet. This bullshit tweet they put out here. In an interview with Jonathan Karl, Arizona GOP gubernatorial nominee Kari Lake would not explicitly commit to accepting the outcome of her upcoming election if she loses to her Democratic opponent. What was her actual answer? Her actual answer was, I will accept the results of this election if we have fair, honest, and transparent election. Absolutely 100%. But they can't accept that. They say that she wouldn't accept the results. Now, in a previous interview with CNN Dana Bash, Lake only said she would accept the results if she won after being asked 3 times whether she would accept the election's outcome. She wasn't going to concede the possibility that she would lose. Why should she? If you lose, will you accept that? Bash ultimately asked, which Lake said, I'm going to win the election. I will accept that result. So what the hell was the tweet about? Would not explicitly commit to accept the outcome. Her answer, I will accept the results of this election if we have fair, honest, transparent election. Absolutely 100%. Wow. That sounds like misinformation on Twitter. That is really sort of a non-answer if it was a yes or no question. I don't think so. I know where you're getting at, but it's not. She answered the question. That's crazy. Hello, Jimmy Dawes. It's not the answer they wanted. They don't really care about the answers unless it's their answers. Right. So anyway, let me go back to something else now. I make sure that I put the tweet in the links too, so that you can find the tweet itself if you want to. By the way, all the tweets, stories, everything that we do here will end up in a single link in the description of both YouTube and Rumble for this video that becomes a video after the live stream. I'll update those during the outro, and it's called a one-tab link. It's in the second or third paragraph. I can't remember. It's usually in the second paragraph, where if you want to go reference these stories, you click one link and they'll be listed on one single website, all in one place. So, now this one is just kind of it's sad, but it's funny too. And this is a president of the United States, so please give all the respect that he deserves as you watch this, because I don't want anyone to be disrespectful of the president of the United States. Here's the president of the United States.
I have.
Hang on. Okay. I just want you to watch this, and I want you to tell me what you think is happening here. Okay. This is the president of the United States. Oh, that's an unfortunate pause. but it's foreshadowing too. It's not just an unfortunate pause. This is foreshadowing. This is the President of the United States doing an interview on the most friendly network possible for the current President of the United States. And, well, I think it's a tie between several other networks. But anyway, tell me what you think is happening here.
I have not made that formal decision, but it's my intention. My intention to run again. And we have time to make that decision.
Dr. Biden is for it. Mr. President. Oh.
Dr. Biden thinks that
Anybody?
My wife thinks that that we're doing something very important.
Okay, what do you think is happening there? Now, yes, Brent Hayes, I understand. Respect he deserves, so fuck him. Anyway, what do you think is happening? See, now, Monica Crowley says the president fell asleep on camera in the middle of a televised interview. Has anyone noticed that his eyes are black? I don't know what that means. He can't end a sentence, but he can end your kids' lives by sending them off to World War III. There's some interesting places there. Yesterday, President Biden announced the deficit fell by 1.4 trillion this year. Okay. Oh, fuck off. Fuck off. It did. Oh my God. The deficit fell 1.4 trillion this year compared to what? Compared to last year, when they spent all that money on COVID shit. They spent shit tons of money last year. Of course the deficit's going to fall from a year where you spent $8 trillion fucking extra dollars on shit because they decided they were going to spend $8 trillion instead of letting people go to work. What do you think, you assholes? The deficit, not the debt. Yeah, he said the deficit. And you know what? There's a lot of stupid people in the world who are going to think, oh, we knocked some money off the debt? Wow. I'm going to put this, first of all, the deficit fell $1.4 trillion. The deficit. The fact that the deficit even has the capability of falling $1.4 trillion should scare the shit out of you. But it's because last year, the deficit from this year to last year, we're not spending another like $4 trillion on COVID spending, propping people up and propping up businesses and all that other crap. Of course the deficit is going to fall $1.4 trillion. It's nothing you did, asshole. Jesus fucking Christ. I wish I wouldn't have scrolled down on this. Good freaking God. You gotta be kidding me. People are touting this like this is something that he did that's amazing. Oh my God. Fuck me. So what? Inflation's up, like they say 8% from year to year. It's more like if you're buying food, it's up 14%. Your fucking deficit where you said, well, we're going to just keep spending money instead of letting people go to work. Holy shit. I'm sorry. Did I get a little, I think I got a little heated there. I'm sorry. Reminder, check your blood pressure. Yeah. Oh, let's talk about my blood pressure. I had to get I had to roll my life insurance over. So I had to get one of those insurance exams where they come out to your house and they take blood and they take urine and they do an EKG and they take your blood pressure and stuff. And I'm quite healthy according to the person who came out, at least as far as those things go. They're taking my blood pressure, and she goes, what about your blood pressure usually around? I said, it's usually about 120/70. And so she takes my blood pressure and goes, oh, it's 120/70, which is pretty good for a guy my height and overweightness and age and shit. And I still have 120/70. It's funny because they used to have concerns about my blood pressure when I was younger, because they would take my blood pressure. And it was like, 115/55 or 115/60. They thought I kind of had low blood pressure issues. But that's just because I was always biking. I was used to cycle a lot. So, but yeah, so still 120/70 is not bad for a guy who's on the upper edge of his 50s and about 70-80 pounds overweight. But anyway, so I felt pretty good about that. And then they did the EKG, and that was cool. And looks like I might live. I think I'm gonna live. All right. So for those of you who are wondering, I think I will live. So, all right, let's see here. Wait, what? Okay. So, all right. Good fucking God. We dropped the deficit by $101.4 trillion. Kiss my giant black ass, Joe Biden. Holy shit. You got to be kidding me. All right. Oh my God, what is this? Oh Lord, this is the one I want to talk about. There's one I want to talk about here. And I'm going to end the show with this because, there's a word for this. What is the word for what I'm about to show you? There's a very descriptive word. In fact, I'm pretty sure that not Edison, the other guy, Tesla, Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla used to use this description when he saw stuff like this. Back when he was doing all the stuff that Edison stole. The term is fucking bullshit. It's fine. This one's bullshit. Here is NPR yesterday afternoon tweeted this out, and they said House Republicans have introduced a national "Don't Say Gay" bill. Modeled after Florida's law, but with effects that could be far more sweeping. Here's a closer look into that. What's in that bill? Well, let's find out what's in that bill from NPR. First of all, there's a smidgen of a problem here. Just a tiny smidgen of a problem. That would be that there is no "Don't Say Gay" bill in Florida. Okay, there's never was a "Don't Say Gay" bill in Florida. They can say gay all the fuck they want. In fact, I thought it was funny if when Dave Rubin was interviewing Ron DeSantis, and they were on stage together. Dave Rubin, who just happens to be gay. And he looked over at Ron DeSantis and he said, well, first let's get something out of the way here. Gay. And Ron DeSantis laughed because, it's not a "Don't Say Gay" bill. But anyway, here is the the tweet, and here's the article. So let's read the article. I'm going to react live to it, and then I'm going to close out the show. House Republicans have introduced legislation that some critics are describing as a national, quote, "Don't Say Gay" bill. Inspired by the controversial Florida law that bans instruction on gender identity and sexual orientation in kindergarten through third grade classes. Now, NPR, I have to give you credit where credit is due. You at least didn't lie about what the bill is actually about. Bans instruction on gender identity and sexual orientation in kindergarten through third grade classes. If the federal bill were to become law, which is unlikely in the current Congress, its effects could be far more sweeping, affecting not just instruction in schools, but also events and literature at any federally funded institution. I'm not buying it. But anyway, here's what's in the bill and what people are saying about it. Now, let me just stop for a moment. I have no problem with the Florida bill. I think it's probably makes sense. And since they're democracy in Florida, or their own representative Republican Florida, because they're not really like Republic, they're representative something. Anyway, their legislature, which represents the people in the certain parts of Florida, who passed that bill, passed it within the state, and the state has control over what happens in the educational system. They can determine what is in the curriculum, and it's not a First Amendment issue. This is a curriculum issue in the Florida schools, and that's what they voted on, and that's what they have the rights to do. Now, I already, just without not even knowing what's in this bill, I'm concerned that this is not the purview of the federal government. I think states can decide what is in their curriculum in their schools. I don't think the federal government should. In fact, I believe we should get rid of the entire Department of Education in the federal government. That's how strongly I feel about states being able to determine what's in the curriculum of their schools. So I already have one of these little things coming out of my head right here going, no, yeah. It's going like that, right? So let's read this. Let's see. I bet what's in the bill and what people are saying about it are worlds apart. Avocados Diabli, you are probably very right there. All right, the measure was introduced on Tuesday by Representative Mike Johnson, Republican of Louisiana, and co-sponsored by 32 other Republicans. Quote, the Democratic Party and their cultural allies are on a misguided crusade to immerse young children in sexual imagery and radical gender ideology, Johnson said in a statement, calling the bill common sense. And yes, I agree with this statement there. But again, we're talking about the federal government versus state governments. The bill, called the Stop the Sexualization of Children's Act, aims to prohibit the use of federal funds to develop, implement, facilitate, or fund any sexually oriented program, event, or literature for children under the age of 10 or for other purposes. Oh, I see. Now there's a little caveat there. All it's saying to the use of federal funds to develop, implement, facilitate, or fund any sexually oriented program, event, or literature for children under the age of 10 or for other purposes. Well, I don't know why the federal government would be doing that in the first place. But that's just me. The language in the proposed legislation lumps together topics of sexual orientation and gender identity with sexual conduct such as pornography and stripping. Oh, you mean like drag queen story hour? Because the federal government funded and it was only $20,000, but it was like in Honduras or Ecuador or somewhere, they funded an LGBTQ organization that's all about having drag queens in whatever, some program down in Ecuador or Honduras or some country down there. Our federal government funded that. Why? Fuck. I don't know. Anyway, so federal funds. Yeah, I could say why is the federal government funding that shit anyway? Why? Again, I think we should get rid of the Department of Education. It's not the federal government's function, but whatever. The bill complains that some school districts have implemented sex ed programming for kids under 10 and that many newly implemented sexual education curriculums encourage discussion of sexuality, sexual orientation, transgenderism, and gender ideology as early as kindergarten, which, why? Why? Oh, because there's some people who think that they should tell you what your kids should know. I got it. Then parents have no right to not have your children know what it means to, never mind. I better not get explicit here. I could get another strike on YouTube. Anyway, it also calls out events such as drag queen story hours in libraries, which is described as sexually oriented. Well, they're certainly sexual in nature, no matter what you say. It's adult entertainment for kid where men dressed as women, caricatures of women, not even dressed as women, they're dressed as caricatures of women, basically do striptease dances, even though they're not taking clothes off. They're doing stripper dances for dollars in some of these. And I've seen some of these. I'm like, there was one that I saw the other day they had on some put on Twitter. I'm like, are you fucking serious? Why are you taking your kid to this? They're basically emulating stripper dances. But anyway, the bill follows GOP-driven parental rights measures in Florida and elsewhere. Look, why are you using federal? Why do you need federal funds for these types of activities when your state school boards, your states can decide whether or not they want to fund this shit? It's not the purview of the federal government to be federally funding any of this shit. So yeah, okay, I get it now. Now I get why perhaps they are writing this bill. Let's see. The bill, blah, 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 blah. The bill complains that some school districts have implemented sex ed program for some kids under 10, and that any newly implemented sexual education curriculums encourage discussion of sexuality, sexual orientation, transgenderism, and gender ideology as early as kindergarten. It also calls out events such as, okay, I already said that one. The proposed federal measure is framed in terms of parents' rights, a rallying cry on the right. Oh, just on the right? Is it just on the right? I know there's a lot of people who are not on the right that are concerned about this. I know lots of gay people who are concerned about this. I even know a few trans people who are concerned about it, thinking, you know what, this is some adult shit. Why are we doing this with kids? This is some adult shit. They don't need to know this shit. This is not appropriate. It's not age appropriate. Anyway, rallying cry on the right that in the last couple of years has included battles against schools' stupid 19 vaccine requirements and fervent activism against critical race theory in classrooms. Yeah, they're not teaching critical race theory, but they're implementing it. In March, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law the Parental Rights in Education bill, which bans public school personnel from conducting classroom instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity in the kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. Gee, what a terrible bill. Critics of the measure and the media dubbed the Florida law "Don't Say Gay" and argued that its intent is to marginalize LGBTQ people and their families. Well, why should a kindergarten through third grader even know what that means? A cascade of other states quickly introduced similar legislation, and Alabama passed its own version of the bill into law. Among the proposed legislation's definitions of sexually oriented material that it would includes descriptions and depictions of sexual acts and lewd and lascivious depiction or description of human genitals. It also prohibits a full range of topics related to the LGBTQ community, gender identity, gender dysphoria, transgenderism, sexual orientation that are largely about identity. Now, again, it wouldn't restrict those things. It would restrict federal funding from being used to support sexually oriented programs. It says, so they set up here, but down here they make it sound like they would prohibit these things. Look, if you're in a state that don't give a shit about this stuff and the state wants to fund it or they want some NGO to fund it, fine. Why do you need federal dollars to fund this or any bullshit? Why would you need federal dollars to implement school sports programs? I don't think you should use federal dollars for that. Why would you use federal dollars to unless it's some math magnet shit or something, any of your programs. The theater department, why would you use federal funds to donate to your theater department? But I mean, at least that's not shit that people shouldn't be learning at an age-appropriate style. I don't know. Now, depending on the November election results, the makeup of the House and Senate could still shift. Oh, that's why they wrote this article. This is a scare article. I gotcha. Still, it's not clear how many Republicans would support the bill, even if it is popular among a certain strain of the party. Oh, what do you think they mean by the certain strain of the party? What do you think NPR is getting at? Even if it's popular among a certain strain of the party. Could you possibly mean extreme MAGA Republicans? What the hell are you there? Even if the proposed legislation were to pass in a Republican-controlled House and Senate, it would be vetoed by President Biden. Are you sure? Do you know that for sure? Do you think SpongeBob Shitpants or SpongeBrain Shitpants would even know what was in the bill? Yes, Ultra Mega. So, don't expect this bill to go anywhere, at least for a while. Now, of course, LGBTQ groups condemn the bill and warn against its potential effects. The Human Rights Campaign, which advocates for the rights of LGBTQ people, decried the proposed legislation. Now, again, remember what the legislation is about. It's not about banning anything. Notice that? It's not about banning anything. The legislation is specifically to not allow federal funding for these things. How much federal funding do you think is going into your local drag queen story hour right now? Of course, maybe you shouldn't answer that because it's probably more than you know, and I don't want to fucking hear about it. But anyway, here it is. Extremist House Republicans like Mike Johnson are continuing their assault on LGBTQ Americans' ability to live their lives openly and honestly. Okay, wait, hold on. First of all, it's not a federal don't say gay or trans bill. It's not. They say they're not going to allow federal funding for these things. If you want to fund this yourself, if you want to do a GoFundMe, if you want to do a bake sale, if you want to sell popcorn like the Boy Scouts, if you want to ask your local legislature or local county offices if they will fund this shit, you can go ahead and do that. It just says no federal funding for it. But no. It's an assault on LGBTQ plus Americans' ability to live their lives openly and honestly. You can't live your life openly and honesty if the federal government doesn't fund a book about blowjobs to your third grader. Are you serious? It's their latest cruel attempt to stigmatize and marginalize the community. Not an attempt to solve actual problems, but only to rile up their extremist base.
Your life makes me sad.
Human Rights Campaign Government Affairs Director David Stacy said in a statement. Activist Aaron Reed, who tracks anti-transgender legislation. You notice how it's all about the trans people? They just kind of skip over the gays and lesbians because not all the gays and lesbians think that the trans shit's so cool anymore. They're starting to see that they're basically trying to transform, pun intended, all the gay and lesbian kids. So basically, a lot of these groups are basically saying, don't be gay. You're just trapped in the wrong body. Don't be gay. We'll just make you into the opposite sex. Gee. Hormones and surgeries, don't be gay. Or maybe the federal government shouldn't be the one funding this. Maybe you should find funding within your state or in your local government or nonprofits or whatever. Federal government probably shouldn't be funding this. Aaron Reed, who tracks anti-transgender legislation, argues that the comparisons to a Don't Say Gay bill minimizes the potential effects of this proposed legislation. Don't Say Gay Trans, which was never a bill, was focused on classroom instruction, which is bad enough, she wrote on Twitter. This goes way beyond the classroom, way beyond instruction. Yeah, the money. The money. Why should the federal government fund this? Okay, so when I saw the way they wrote the headline for this, what's the so-called Don't Say Gay bill would impact the whole country. How is it going to impact the? I'm curious. Okay, now I want to know. I want to know if there's funding this shit. I want to know how much federal funding is actually going into these programs. How much would this affect the programs that out? How much federal funding is going into drag queen story hours? How much federal funding is going into promoting books that have depictions of sexual acts that they get away with it because it could be gay or trans, that you would never be able to include in heterosexual things for third graders. Now, I get it. Books like Catcher in the Rye are in high schools. That's a different thing. And you know, because these are the same motherfuckers who wanted to ban books by Mark Twain because, my God, it might have the word nigger in it. But this, oh no. How much federal funding is going into this? Give me a dollar amount that this would affect the whole country. Just curious. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I got to get the heck up out of here. I am so happy to be back, though. Oh, wait, I just closed my Rumble page. I am happy to be back. I hope you all are having have a wonderful day. I don't know why I have this open. That's weird. Anyway, thank you for joining me today on the Morning Night Live. Later in this week, my goal is to have some people who may have gotten a suspension or two here in the last few weeks. Also, I want to talk about this little weirdo TikToker that got to meet the president of the United States after being a girl for 100 days and has been that is a whole TikTok on, I've been a girl for a whole 3 days. And then this dude is just cringe as fuck. We'll try to talk about that later in the week. But I am back on YouTube. I am on Rumble. Please, before you go, if you're only subscribed to me on YouTube, also subscribe to me on Rumble, because I think it's important to have you on both platforms. Let me do this real quick. I'm going to put here's the link to today's. That way, if I don't show up on YouTube some Monday or some Wednesday or whatever, you'll be able to find me on Rumble too. So subscribe to me over there. My goal right now is 10,000 subscribers on YouTube and 1,000 subscribers on Rumble before my 1,000th episode. This is 925, so we have 75 episodes left. Please help me do this. I can't do it myself. Please spread the word. Link my videos in your social media, wherever you go. If you're in any other platforms, if you're on Reddit or, Minds or, Twitter or wherever you go, please let people know about the show. I want to grow it basically I want to just stick it in YouTube's eye by just growing, because they're not promoting anything I do. They love to give me those little yellow dollar signs on my videos. Maybe they're limiting, they're limiting the ads and whatnot. We're saying this is not within our community guidelines, so we're going to limit your ads and all that. I want to be able to just YouTube proof my channel and just do it myself and grow. So if you can help me do that, that'd be great. Please make sure you share the stream. If you haven't hit the like button or the plus sign on YouTube or Rumble, please do that. That helps out a lot. Also, share the stream. If you want to sponsor the show, pdognight.live, 24 hours a day. I'll read your messages on the show, the prioritized chats, YouTube super chats, Rumble rants, and there's also Venmo and Cash App down in the description down below. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today. I got to go. My name's Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Have a great day. Hey, this is Dawg Knight, and thanks for watching today on the Dawg Knight Channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here.